Well, good evening, everybody. I'll go ahead and call us to order for the regular board meeting of the Vallecitos Water District Board of Directors on Wednesday, July sixth, 2016. And Director Elethar, would you be so kind to lead us in the pledge, please?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a roll call, please, Diane?
Director Elethar?
Here.
Director Evans?
Here.
Director Hernandez?
Here.
Director Martin?
Here.
Director Pinella?
Here. And before we have a motion to adopt the agenda, just want to read a little language here. Staff has requested that we continue item 2.3 relating to the water supply assessment and verification report for the Newland Sierra specific plan to the regular board meeting of Wednesday, July 20th. It was brought to staff's attention that a copy of the report was not linked to the district's posted agenda website, and to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to review the report prior to the board taking action, staff is recommending that we continue that item, 2.3. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as with.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, we have a special introduction of 2 new employees by Bridget.
Thank you, guys. Good afternoon, evening now. I have 2 new employees for you today. Start with Jesse Halbig. He became a district employee on June 21st as a collection system worker 1, a position vacant due to a recent promotion. In his free time, he enjoys playing fishing. He enjoys fishing and golf. However, free time is scarce as he has twin boys, Jonas and George. I think are 2. 2.5.
Oh.
Our second new employee.
Before we go, and where did you come from?
I came from City Vista,
Oh,
Public Works Department.
smart move.
A forestry, you said?
No, the Public Works Department.
Oh, public works. It's like forestry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I do normally put that in.
Bridget?
Yes.
What type of fishing do you do? Sea?
Ocean fishing. I
Ocean fishing.
started in the lakes as a kid, but once I went to the ocean, I haven't been back. So.
What's the largest fish you've caught?
Maybe pressure shark, probably 180 pounds.
Ooh. And where'd you catch that?
At Harlefit, off Harlefit.
Really? About how far out?
4 miles.
Oh,
You're a serious fisherman.
I used to be.
Not
Now
me.
I'm serious where I work now.
And you got twin boys.
Twin boys.
Thank you.
All right. Any more questions for Jesse? All right. Our second employee, Raul Rodarte, he joined the district on June 27th, also a collection system worker 1. He joins us after 11 years in the Public Works Department for the city of Poway. He's married to Genevieve, and they have 3 children. In his free time, he's pretty much a family guy, but he does enjoy surfing and watching soccer. Not playing soccer.
You're still gonna go surfing with those thresher sharks 4 miles offshore?
As long as they don't bite me,
Yeah. I mean, he's got you covered now. He'll catch you before
We'll
they get
have
to
to
you.
go as a team.
So,
180 pounds will catch you.
yeah.
well, at least I went doing something.
You enjoyed, right? Any other questions?
What made you make the change from being in Carlsbad to San
After
Marcos?
11 years, I finally got tired of the transition from the 15 to the 78. I live here in Vista,
Yeah.
and that finally did it.
So the city's plan worked, that's how we got it. That's the plan.
I'm just curious, what gender your 3 kids are?
My oldest is 26, and my other is 11, and then my daughter, my one and only daughter, is 7. Little Sophia.
Wow, you gave each one a private family there. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome aboard.
Yes,
Well, welcome both of you.
glad to have you.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to a couple board presentations. Tom, you want to kick us off with the
Yes,
CWEA?
I will. George Acevas is not here, but he is a System Collections Worker 1 with his certificate of competence in Collection System Maintenance Grade 2 from California Water Environment Association. So congratulations, George. But we have with us today Patrick Barrier. You want to come on up? And Patrick became a district employee on August 18th, 2014 as a Collection System Worker 1. He came from the City of Vista Collections Department. Patrick is being recognized for receiving his Collection System Maintenance Grade 2 certificate issued by California Water Environment Association. And then Dustin Harrison. Come on up, Dustin. Dustin became a district employee in August 2012 as a Collection System Worker 1. He was promoted to Worker 2 in August 2015. Dustin earned his Collection System Maintenance Grade 2 certificate issued by California Water Environment Association. And then Terry Moritz. Terry, come on up. Terry joined the district on February 9th, 2015 as a Collection System Worker 1. He previously worked for the City of Escondido's wastewater department. Terry earned his Collection System Maintenance Grade 2 certificate issued by California Water Environment Association. So congratulations, guys. Awesome job.
Okay, you guys gotta, yeah, we'll get.
Stay, scooch in and hold your certificate.
Just on behalf of the board, thank you for continuing your education and getting your certificates and just continuously improving for our district. We really appreciate everything you guys do for us.
Okay, scoot in. We like each other. Thanks. Good job,
Okay, we also have a presentation for an awesome project that was done and recognized. The Linda Vista East Sewer Project was designed and built to remedy surcharging conditions on Linda Vista Drive. The project involved the construction of approximately 3,000 feet of 15-inch pipe and the abandonment of approximately 1,500 feet of existing 8-inch pipe. The project also included a crossing under Route 78. The project was accepted by the board in May 2015 and was recognized this year with an award in the wastewater treatment category by the American Society of Civil Engineers and also recognized with an award by the American Public Works Association. Again, awesome job for the recognition.
Wow.
Project of the year, that's a pretty big deal, right? It is. Congratulations.
Accepting the award is Jason Hubbard, Rob Scholl. Very good.
He designed it, and I got it built, so. we can hold California. You got the good photo. Ready? Got it.
It's yours.
Over here before we get started. Okay, oral communications. Persons wishing to address a matter not on the agenda may be heard at this time. However, no action will be taken until the matter is placed on a future agenda in accordance with board policy. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Request a speaker form is required to be submitted to the executive secretary prior to the start of the meeting, if possible. Public comment should start by stating name, address, and topic, and the board is not permitted during this time to enter into dialogue with the speaker. And I do have one speaker, Mr. Hunsaker.
Mike Hunsaker, 115 Equestrian Court. I'm speaking for the Twin Oaks Valley Property Owners Association tonight, except for if I indicate otherwise. I am interested in a number of things on the financing and the billing that's coming forward. There are quite a few laws that are being promoted and will likely exist in the near future, and one that already exists, AB 744. There has been some question as to whether or not AB 744 exempts certain developments if they meet a small percentage of affordable housing requirements. The act glibly says that since agencies can raise fees to cover the gap, that is a unfunded mandate, and it is in violation of Prop 211, which you have already indicated that you will not allow to provide subsidies to seniors. So does AB 744 apply to all these deferred fee payments? Can a developer get approval for a permit, then after the fact decide, well, if I build 5 or 10% of very low income families or seniors who may or may not get a market rate, who may get a market rate house rather than a subsidized house, is there any option for these developers to change their minds and to use loopholes that are coming or exist to get around paying their fair share of facility fees? I'm considerably concerned about the deferred fee payment plans, which can be abused by developers using their political power in Sacramento to extinguish these fees and pass the costs on to ratepayers in violation of 211. The other problem I have is that they're already on the books, and AB 744 is one of them, that allow for density bonuses. How are you going to handle density bonuses? Shouldn't the developer pay extra if they're going to do that? How do you make a plan which there already exist density bonuses and assist on setting rates based on the past? And I do applaud rate stabilization, as it has taken us over the hump for the desal water rate increase. However, we have, unless we do unfeathered development, enough water to avoid having to put restrictions in. We have enough water to survive droughts unless we allow irresponsible development. So, why put rate stabilization in there unless you are planning to transfer some of the costs of new development and their water rates onto others? This is also a potential violation of 211. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And if you'd like, you can just stay up there. Just give me a second to read this.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to move on to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar will be voted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or a member of the public requests that a particular item or items be removed from the consent calendar, in which case it will be considered separately under action items. So before we have a motion to approve the consent calendar, I do have a couple of speaker slips under this item. 1.3, Mr. Hunsaker, if you'd like to come back up.
Mostly an inquiry. Has the water requirements for this project been included in the urban water plan? And will it be included in the master water plan? And how are we going to ensure that facility fees are going to be paid? Certainly, there should be a steady decrease in sewer rates as the facilities are bought and paid for by developments. So there should be a drop in the ratepayer costs. So that's just a question, and
So as it
good
pertains-
luck to the developer.
As it pertains to the yes/no questions, as to this project is in the plans, can we just quickly answer that?
Yes, it's in the plans, but it also is, the money's separate. Capacity is capacity, it's a separate revenue requirement to fund future growth.
But it
and
isn't,
then
yeah,
the
but it is
rates
in
are
the plan.
separate. yeah.
Okay.
It's
And-
planned for.
Hey, Mike, before you get too far, you got one for 1.4 too.
Okay. Pretty much the same questions.
Well, we-
I had more, but.
You're gonna be up again here shortly.
Keep you moving.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, so, with that, is there a motion to approve the
Move to
consent
approve.
calendar?
Second.
Motion is second, any questions about anything? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Okay, Chris, item 2.1, drought response water conservation program.
Thank you, President Sinella. Good evening, board members. So I'm coming to you with some information, updates on the drought. We've been in a level 2 drought condition since August of 2014, so approximately 2 years we've been in the level 2 drought condition. As you recall, the governor issued an executive order on May 29th, extending the regulations through January of 2017. He put the issue to the State Water Resources Control Board, had them come up with some parameters. They extended that requirement that we have those state mandated reductions through the end of May, but after that, go to that self-supply based approach assessment. The adopted regulation keeps in place specific prohibitions against certain wasteful water use practices. Separately from the State Water Resources Control Board, the Metropolitan Water District confirmed that they have enough water supply for the region for the next 3 years. That happened on June 15th. The Water Authority noted that they had sufficient water supplies on June 9th. And then Vallecitos ourselves, we did a thorough analysis of our supplies, including the water from our desal connection. And we certified to the State Water Resources Control Board on June 21st that we actually have a surplus of supplies for water years 2017, 2018, and 2019. So the actual calculation came out with a surplus.
It's even assuming dry years.
You said assuming dry years.
Assuming dry years,
So
we
if
still.
they're wet years, then it would even be more of a surplus.
Correct.
May I ask?
Sure.
And Chris, I just want to clarify, when you say, or not you personally, but when these statements are made that we have the supply, this supply is not just on current residences, but expectations of growth into the future.
Absolutely.
So they have taken into consideration based on Sandag and whatever the
Correct.
official things are.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify
Yeah.
that. It's not, okay.
Yeah, not just
And we
what's here
still have
today,
a
but
bit of
what
a
we expect.
surplus,
Yes.
provided we don't go
Um,
crazy. Okay.
So the big point that I'm making is that the district's no longer mandated by either the state, MWD, or CWA to have mandatory drought restrictions in place. We basically have a zero conservation requirement based on that specific analysis. Which brings us to our drought ordinance. Currently, the district has 2 drought ordinances. The initial one was the one that's kind of the regional. County Water Authority had put together the ordinance way back when, and a lot of the agencies adopted it. And they're all very similar, all a little different, but very similar. And so that's the one drought ordinance we have. And then we had this overlay, which was based on the state's mandate and the reduction requirements. So we kind of have these 2 ordinances that are talking at the same time. And so I worked with staff and with Tom to consolidate these two ordinances to meet the governor's executive order, the State Water Resources Control Board's requirements, but also to include some actions that will be those permanent restrictions that the state requires. So some of the important points is that it references drought, it references declared shortages, water conservation mandates from the state, or some sort of emergency if we have some kind of emergency where we lose the actual supply of water. It includes water waste prohibitions that are in effect at all times. So certain things just would never be okay, regardless of whether we're in drought level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Just certain things are just not appropriate, and then they're basically wasteful. Level 1 would be the voluntary condition, where we would be looking to achieve up to 10% reduction. It'd be voluntary. We'd be asking people to conserve, but no real mandates on that. Level 2 would be where we were up to 20% reduction, where that's what we were trying to achieve. And irrigation would be restricted to 3 days per week from June through October, 2 days from November through May, and then 10 minutes per station for the standard pop sprinklers that are kind of the old style now, but people still do have them. Level 3 is we ratcheted up a little bit. That's where we're looking for up to a 30% reduction. We restrict irrigation to 2 days, June through October, 1 day, November through May, and then 8 minutes per station on those standard pop sprinklers. And then this is where, at level 3, is where we really talk about power washing of structures. So that would not, we would allow mobile home parks to power wash unless we got to a level 3 condition, and then that would be restricted. And then level 3 is also where it gets a little scary, where there'd be restrictions on new potable water services. And then level 4 is really the major league one. That's when we've really got essentially a really extreme condition, which we haven't seen, and irrigation would basically be prohibited under most circumstances. Certain things would be okay, but very restricted. And the option is in there to use water allocations and say, look, here's how much water you're specifically going to get.
Chris, just to clarify, I'm sorry. Level 1 is the only voluntary, all those other levels are mandatory. Then
Correct.
Move to mandatory 2, 3, and 4.
I did a lot of the water conservation coordinators throughout the region have been talking to each other, and at the time this report was written, it was more than half of them had either moved to level 1 or were moving. There's another query going around as we speak. I just got it as I was coming down, and I basically said, hey, look, I'm going to go downstairs and talk about this right now, and I'll come back in a little while and email everybody with our results. But more than half of them have either moved or are moving to level 1. The public info staff, myself and my staff have been watching a lot of the webinars lately put out by Aqua and put out by the Save Our Water campaign. And they're going to be putting forth a big new campaign starting July 11th. So we'll get some of the graphics and materials that they're promulgating starting on July 11th. Big points they want to make is that the drought's not over, snowpack is melting, groundwater levels are critical in some areas. State Water Resources Control Board is still going to be monitoring us. We're still going to have to submit data on the savings that we've got. There'll be a new emphasis on supply reliability. The drought and water supplies vary from region to region. Everybody's different. We still need to continue to implement water conservation, and we need to show that we have policies and supply investments in place that can meet the challenges of this drought. So we need to keep at it, even though there's a lot of efforts to let water agencies such as ourselves, come out of these mandated restrictions. We still need to put forth the effort on this. We'll be using those tools as soon as they're produced. I imagine we will put out a snipe. Director Martin and I had that fun time last time we talked about it, was that little game we play in Boy Scouts, but that envelope display that talks about the new status for our customers and explain it to them. Fiscal impact wise, I expect a little bit of a rebound. It's really hard to know exactly how much of a rebound we'll get, but I expect us to get a rebound. And as we, if we were to change and go back to level 1, I would continue to report on the rebounds. And so the recommendation is that we repeal those two old ordinances, the CWA and the California overlay, 162, 195, adopt the new ordinance, and then have the board rescind drought level 2, the drought alert, and declare a drought level 1 and go to voluntary water conservation.
Thank you for the report. Chris, any questions? Director Evans?
I have about 4, if that's
Sure.
okay. The first one is when you were mentioning the restrictions on water on the 3 days and 2 days, and then if you have the pop-ups, you'd have 10 minutes or 8 minutes, depending if it was level 2 or level 3.
Got it.
My question is, and I read it, I don't have it right here in front of me, but I just want to make sure, I thought it said that as far as watering trees and shrubs, even in level 2 or 3, you could do so as long as you used a shut-off nozzle and did it by hand.
Yeah, essentially.
So we can still water our trees and the
Correct.
bushes.
Correct.
Okay, because I think that's important people know that. It doesn't mean
Yes.
you let them die.
Really getting after those pop-ups that just
The pop-ups.
burst every
And
day.
we're hoping people, okay. And on that, it would be fun if we could support exchanging pop-ups for the others.
There's
type
rebates
as
for
a-
that, and-
There are men pursuing, I know there's
People
rebates.
are making that effort, they really are, they're starting to make that change. The old metal pops
Yeah.
that just spray everywhere, you see fewer and
I would
fewer
just
of
like to
those.
maybe see us push it more than like the turf replacement, that's all, just a thought. My second question is, when I was reading through it, I think I need a definition of potable water. Because it said you could not use, I think it's level 3, you can't use the potable water, or is it level 2? Where you
You're referring to the services?
No, it says something about potable water, and I thought, well, okay, now I'm confused, because I think
Oh.
watering highway things and strips and lawn or whatever.
Okay.
What I was thinking
So-
was, it says something, I'm so sorry, I don't have it with me, about potable water, and then so it's like, okay, you should be using recycled water. But what is it when we go to, let's say we started using direct potable water that's actually recycled water? I know that's in the future, but is there a definition of potable that, it just confuses me.
Yeah, and so I think the point that you're making is that when we reference the non-potable water, the restrictions are not the same on that we encourage the use of recycled water for irrigation in a different fashion than we do for drinking water. And
Right,
so
but we
that's
kind of
the
interchanged the words, and I thought, I
disconnect.
need a definition of what potable means. Does that mean it's drinkable?
Yes,
So if the water was drinkable and direct potable, could I not use it on my lawn?
That's correct.
Possibly.
That's
You
correct.
could not.
You
Under-
could not.
And any potable, whether it's
It's the way it's written.
any sort,
It's
yeah.
way it's written. Okay, well, that's what I want to clarify, because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. Then you mentioned levels 3 and 4, and I also needed to clarify that, and this may be up to the GM here, at level 3 and level 4, is that when it's mandatory that we do not issue new services and new annexations? Is it
Correct.
3 or 4 or both?
Both.
start
So-
with
Starts with
3 and
three.
also with 4.
3 and 4,
Mhm.
at that point, it's
Yeah.
required.
Unless the permits are already, they already have the
Well, I
permits
know
and the
there's an
fees are already
area of the
paid.
3 things, if you've already paid for them, and you
That's
could
correct.
prove mitigation, but I just want to make sure I got that. And then, in my head, when we talk about the water supply, even at level 4, are we as a district, have we set aside water for fire and for emergency storage, or what, is that the word? And that's there regardless of the drought. We just keep conserving, but that water, we don't dip into like the emergency storage for an earthquake or the fire water if there's a drought. Am I correct, or?
Yeah, that's counted towards when we assess to see, what percentage we need to save, that's always still there.
So it's always still there?
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I
Correct.
just, thank you. That was from, those I think were all my questions. Thank you for your patience, gentlemen.
Absolutely. Director Alpert?
Yeah, have you heard from any agencies that have indicated they're not gonna drop back to level one.
So the interesting one I think I saw was, it may have been Del Mar. I thought it was a coastal city, and I think they were talking about trying to do a level 1.5 or something. And, you know, you start to split hairs at a certain
Yeah.
point. And so there was kind of one like that. And I think around the state, as I read articles, basically the whole Sacramento and San Francisco area, everybody's, you know, putting out a zero water conservation target. But there's some agencies that are still gonna stick with it. And then there are some agencies that really, they don't have this other supply source. Some of them are just kind of, what they've got locally is all they've got, and they really need to manage that, and they're still staying in whatever drought condition they have.
Be dependent on the local conditions.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Any questions down here, gentlemen? The only thing I'll add is just that, and I'm glad that staff is recommending that we go to a drought level 1, which is voluntary, because I'm real sensitive to all the investment that our customers have made with regards to adding storage there in San Vicente, and even more directly with the desal plant here in Carlsbad. So I think that they should be rewarded, and the fact that all three of the different agencies, ourselves included in that, have analyzed our water supplies for the foreseeable future and have determined that there will be ample water given in large part because of those investments that were made, especially as it pertains to the local businesses as well, and being able to keep their sidewalks out front either power washed or their stores cleaned, or any business processes that include water, which is most processes, so that they can have a successful business and employ people and kind of make the whole economy, you know, and the whole world turn. I'd be definitely supportive of the staff's recommendation to go to drought level 1. So we have a motion?
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.
And if I can introduce, Mr. John Anderson came to talk to me earlier today about this very topic in 99 grants.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Nice to have you here, John.
Oh, we do, sorry. Mr. Hunsaker.
Oh, it's roll call.
No, it's,
No, oh, it is?
Want to take the
Okay.
speaker first, or you want to go follow up?
No, let's do the speaker first. So, that was just a practice run. Sorry, Mike, didn't mean
No
to.
problem.
I'm
If
just,
we have adequate water,
I'm seeing too much yellow up here.
yeah, and even a surplus, why are we still at level 1? One of the politically correct approaches by special interests is that we have to pay for all the capacity, but we are not allowed to use it. And because we're not allowed to use that capacity, the water can be given to others. I'm not a fan of political correctness. I'm not a fan of special interest influence. But you have a master water, an urban water plan, which says all of a sudden in 4 years, we go to draconian measures to supply big development. So this 3-year bit is going to look like politically correct weaseling. Now, Ms. Evans raised a legitimate point. Do we have enough reserves for emergencies? Okay. Is that going to be a determining point at some point on approving new development? Or do we just rubber stamp through? One of the key factors that we need to do is to have accounting as to how much sewer capacity we have, how much water capacity, and at what point do we have to dip into the reserves? That's a question of transparency. The last thing we should do is to have unfeathered development and then have a man-made emergency. Conveniently, 4 years out with a 3-year certification with an urban water plan that says there is not going to be anywhere near enough water. I also question whether or not we shouldn't be providing some sort of conservation measures on these high-density apartment complexes. Separate meters. ability to determine if tenants or the owner of the building are abusing water. Right now, there is very glaring loopholes. So why level 1? And why certification when you have plans that say there isn't going to be near enough water? There's not going to be near enough sewer capacity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hunsaker. Okay, now with that, there was a motion to approve staff's recommendation to adopt drought level 1. There was a second, so can we have a roll call vote?
So the ordinance 198, Director Allenhardt,
Yes.
Director Evans,
Yes.
Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Martin.
Yes.
Director Canales.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yes.
Moving on to item 2.2, acceptance of lift station pump number 1. Jason?
Good. Thank you, President Snell and directors. I'm here to discuss the acceptance of the Lift Station 1 pump improvement project. This project increases the capacity of the lift station through the replacement of an existing pump for a new, larger pump. So this project is one step in a series of steps to increase the capacity of the production of recycled water at Meadowlark. So not only was this existing pump replaced with a larger pump, we also replaced an existing pump with the same newer pump. We made some structural, electrical, and mechanical upgrades that were necessary as part of this pump improvement project. And this is all part of the district's strategic plan. The project was completed with 8 change orders, 7 additive and 1 deductive. That was a total of $17,000. This project is also pursuing Prop 84 grant funding in the amount of $338,000. We're pursuing that, invoicing now. We anticipate reimbursement probably in the second or third quarter of this fiscal year. The budget breakdown is included in your packet, and with the reimbursement, we end up with a budget surplus of $215,000. And with that, staff would recommend that the board accept the project so that we can file a notice of completion and release the retention funds to the contractor. And I can answer any questions or any project details, and I also have some before and after photos if you're interested.
Okay, thanks, Jason. And Director Martin, you got a question?
Congratulations to staff for getting this project finished. I know it was a long project, and it started with getting rid of the smell in the area, so I want to thank you for that. That's something I've dealt with for 30 years, so I try to find a smell there now, and it's gone. So I know we didn't have one, but if we
Bakery
did
there-
have
the
one.
bakery there helps.
Yeah. Fugitive vapors, right, James? Fugitive. The fugitives have all been captured and sent away somewhere else, so congratulations. Now, my second question is, I asked this question 2 or 3 weeks ago, and everybody looked at me like I had 4 heads. I only have 2. The work going on at the lift station, behind the lift station, where dirt has been spread going all the way to the rear of the property, and then in the middle of the property, a fence has been put up with barbed wire on it, and things inside of it. And my question was, what are we doing at the lift station? The GM and everybody else looked at me like, well, something's going on there. So who authorizes what's going on there? What is going on there? And what was the necessity for spreading dirt over the entire back half outside of the fenced-in area?
The grading that I think you're talking about happened over several years, and that
No,
was.
it just happened 3 weeks ago.
Oh, you're talking about that recent?
I watched it happen.
So that.
I drove into the parking lot, I took pictures of it. If you need them, I'll show them on my phone. What is it?
So that fenced area is a staging operation for a contractor who did the sewer replacement out on Mill Road. So they were looking for a place to stage. The city did not have any available properties, so we entered an agreement with that contractor for them to use that property to stage for the replacement of that sewer. So with that replacement, of course, in the city of San Marcos, everything in the trench is removed, and everything that goes back in is imported. So there's all those exported material. So some of that material was spread on site to kind of give us an even area. Some of it, and the rest of it was hauled off. That fence within the fence was to kind of keep them contained so that their footprint did not get into the other reaches of the property. So we did have a signed contract with that contractor, and that went through the normal chain of command.
Well, thank you. So now, has that fence been removed?
That fence, I believe, is still, I don't actually know, I haven't driven by there this week. The contractor that did the Knoll Road replacement actually entered a second contract with us to do a repair in Carlsbad on a sewer leak, not a sewer leak, but a sewer break on Melrose Drive. So we decided, hey, you're working for us over here, now you're gonna be working for us over here, just keep your staging there. That work was completed. In fact, the striping for Knoll Road and that sewer repair was finished last night. So the work is all done. Now they're gonna start taking that fence down, removing all the material. I think if you go there now, in fact, talking to our inspection supervisor, there's some rock that's still there. That needs to be all removed. That contract that they signed says basically everything has to be returned to its existing condition. Now, if there's something that, for instance, they had some leftover DG. We actually brought some here into the yard because they needed to get rid of it. Some material, we said, just spread that here. So we kind of work with them on that. But at the end of the day, that fence will go, the piles will go, all that material will go.
And congratulations on Knoll Road, because I know there's a little anxiety. I had anxiety over closing it during the daytime. It's very busy, but
No
it was handled very well by you and the subcontractor. So kudos to you, and kudos for you knowing what's going on our property.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Question.
Oh. Director
What
Hernandez.
is the update on that property? I recall in years past, we had hazardous material, they had wells in there they were monitoring. Are they still monitoring that area?
No, that property, and James may have to correct me, but I believe the permit has been closed with the state. So that is all done.
Jason's correct. Director Hernandez said it was an old Superfund site from the, basically the petroleum products that used to sheet flow across the parking lot of the adjacent building into there. That's been completely cleared. One of the conditions of the clearing was kind of what you see is happening where basically everything's been cleared, it's been completely cleared. The state has issued a permit that says now we can use that property for beneficial use. We put up a fence now to secure our property and basically the neighboring property improve the swales so there can be no more runoff from that parking lot. There's no more petroleum products, obviously, but just a runoff and general debris. And you see the new fence gone up, and of course, final grading of that site. And then now we know that we kind of directed water flow on both sides to natural drainage, and now the property is basically secure district property.
Thank you.
And Jason, just more out of curiosity than relevant to this, but is this entire patch of kind of grass dirt area, is that our property? Like we see here on our aerial, like everything that's kind of north of the pump station? In between the parking lot and
Yes.
then this, and then Restaurant Row?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not Restaurant Row, that's where Big
You've got a
O
parking
Tires
lot,
used to be and stuff,
To
yeah.
the west, and Arby's is over there, and I think
Yep.
there's a number of automotive businesses over to the east.
Mhm.
But that's our property.
That
goes-
entire-
In fact, you can't see the back of the property,
Is
it's
it-
actually on that area, it goes farther back.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can't really see there, but there's a kind of an S-shape natural drainage pattern that goes from the west over kind of to the east side that's maintained through there.
Okay. Hey, Tom, so just again, curiosity, but do we have any plans for that property as far as the future development of additional pump stations, or, I mean, what, is it just permanent open space? I mean, what?
I believe there,
Jim got plans for it.
We're gonna put our scalping plan, are you kidding?
Jim has plans already for Director Hernandez does, but
there's a
have-
potential to upgrade our facility.
So it has
next
groundwater?
year.
that's the only facility that supplies our reclaim plant. So if there is any potential for increased flows to the plant, we'd, be doing additional improvements to
What's
that.
it zoned?
Nothing planned, though.
What's the zone? Do you
I don't know
guys
what it's
I mean,
zoned
It's got kind of commercial.
Commercial?
Okay.
James is saying commercial.
So if we wanted to open up like a water district gift store or something,
Apartments.
or apartments? Okay, okay, and congratulations on, you said, greater than $200,000 under budget?
Yes,
Wow.
250,000.
Pretty impressive. Yeah.
I was wondering, oh,
Go ahead.
your hand was up and I didn't.
Director Oliver.
Yeah, how certain is the Prop 84 grant funding?
It's been secured already, we just have to send in the proper paperwork. So we've already sort of sent them our first round of paperwork. We need to send them some environmental documentation and just some billing. It's already been sort of allocated.
Director Evans.
Thank you. This comment actually is for John, and I just wanted you to, seems like in the last meeting, we talked about if there was any extra money, it would go into the reserve account next year. So there's $242,458. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'm making a joke, really.
I mean, you can
You're
come
s-
on up, we want to hear from you.
He's so serious, like, oh my gosh.
It's money.
Why is it a joke?
Well, it's not a joke, but I mean, he looked like, what is she saying? I'm just curious, is that already taken into the last budget, or is it moved forward to the,
Well, one of the first things I learned as an accounting student is that there's no such thing as extra money.
I learned that myself.
All money
Dang
is-
it.
You and my wife.
All money is somewhere, is accounted for somewhere. So when you have a budget, it's like, you know, you might want to spend $30,000 on a car, let's say. But you go to the car lot and you buy one for $28,000, they don't give you $2,000 back, you just didn't spend $2,000. So in our case, we didn't spend $200,000. So the money's in reserves, it was budgeted out of reserves, so now that money just basically stays in
stays in
reserves and is
reserves.
available for something else.
but it's in reserves.
And
So
it-
that's the
it
right
never
answer.
left.
Never
It never
left.
left.
Here we
Good.
go.
Good.
Thanks, thank you both.
I was hoping you'd use it to build the gift shop for
Yeah, well, good
CWD items.
souvenirs and more coats
Ex-
like Jason, or James has?
That would be the federal government, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Excellent report.
Yeah, thank you.
And good answers.
I'll move staff's
Very helpful.
recommendation.
We have a motion?
Second.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Almost forgot we had to vote on it. Guess we'll have about 200,000. Okay, moving on to item 2.4, ordinance 197, business of the board.
Yeah, this was just brought, there's a lot of discussion on the organizations that we belong to when we were talking budget. So we just wanted to bring it before you for discussion and for any direction on particularly focusing on the areas on page, I think it's 80 of your board packet, where it lists the organizations that are authorized.
Two point four?
Yeah, 2.4, page 87, you said?
Page 80, I think, is where the, let's see, what page is it?
Yeah.
Page 80 of the packet is where the actual organizations are listed that we belong to. These are the organizations that are, water-related and that if you go to a meeting, you get per diem for. They're authorized for us to participate in.
So what do you need us to do, like reapprove?
There was just a lot of
reapprove
talk
this, or
about it at the, it's just for you to
did
discuss. if
somebody
there's
bring
any
it up
direction.
in particular?
Well, Director Martin brought it up. We all had a say about, we should look at all of the items that we're at. And I don't have the document in front of me, but from memory, there were a couple that I saw that I would like to get, to see if there's a consensus on the board.
Quick question, Dan?
Yes.
This is per diem? You sent us a sheet that showed how much the fees were. Is that
Correct,
in
yeah.
part of this report?
Yeah, those organizations you saw in that email are these same
What page is that
organizations.
in the report?
That was a separate email I sent to you with the dollar amounts on it.
Yeah,
That was
with
the report.
how much we spent and why. I don't have mine either.
Could you,
One side showed.
do you still
the
have that, John? Can you,
cost
John will
of-
get a copy if you don't have it. with
That would be
you.
important, but one that I did know, is actually a couple I know, but you go right ahead.
Yeah, well, we're probably gonna steal each other's thunder, but I think we had the purchase of the table at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, but that's
From
not,
memory?
That's not an
on-
approved
It's not on there?
That's a
organization.
one-time,
Okay.
every year have to
Very-
come back.
The one that I know is on there is the Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to see us move to a civic membership on that, which I think is their lowest.
They don't,
Go ahead, maybe.
they don't have a civic membership. It's
Oh, they
just-
don't have that any
It's just
longer?
really the question is, should we belong to the chamber or shouldn't we? What's the point, what good does it do our ratepayers?
Right, well then,
That's a big question.
okay, if they don't have the civic membership, then,
No, they don't have a civic membership,
Yeah,
so
then,
it's expensive. I think it's $1,000 without having a sheet in front of me.
yeah, it's 1,200 or something
Well,
like that.
John will be back soon
Okay.
with what that is, yeah.
Well,
Not one of the biggies, but.
On this paper for the Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
you had $860 membership, at least last year.
Okay.
Then there were $600 in meetings and other expenses. So the total we spent was $1,460. I don't know what meetings and other expenses implies.
Per diem, if, for the chamber, you need to approve any per diems ahead of time, so.
I don't recall having any of those come before us.
Was that,
it might have
was
been
that the current year?
It might have been the item that, you know, we had the reception here one time.
I think it's the state of the chamber
Oh,
address, it's the
yeah.
annual
City.
state of the city
Oh,
that we've
yeah.
gone
I
to.
forgot that they're
Oh.
involved.
Could be, yeah.
And probably, we suggested sponsoring a table and had difficulty filling it, I believe. I'm not sure. Was not able to go. So I would certainly look at making that. I mean, if we're gonna get involved in the chamber at all, I think it would be much more beneficial if it was a way that our public outreach, this is just an idea, but public outreach was willing to do centerpieces that encouraged conservation or thank them for what you've been doing, much more confined. And I don't think we need to do per diems, personally.
I don't think we are.
And we did 600 of them, so somebody went
Well,
last year. I don't know what it was.
Well, I think it may have been, I did not attend this year's State of the City, but I think we can bring those items up on an as appropriate event comes up. But I think that the membership, I personally agree with Director Martin, or that, I don't think we could spend that money on those centerpieces that you said if we so chose. So eliminating that one from the list would be something I certainly would support.
Well, it won't surprise any of you that I really feel the money spent at the SDNE seed deck or whatever is extravagant. I don't feel it has any direct relationship to our ratepayers at all. And I find it disappointing that one year we gave, we did the $10,000, and I don't see how the breakdown, but last year we gave $5,000 as sponsorship. I would have preferred we did the $1,500, or we even didn't do it, but bought exhibition booth at a water summit type of thing, because that's a lot less money. But we spent $5,000 according to this on membership, but we spent $5,800 on per diems. And plus we spent $234 on expenses and another $75 on meetings. That's $11,109 that I feel the ratepayers should never have had to pay. And I know I don't know if there was a water summit this year, but I looked at those agendas and I feel maybe one or two of them had some linkage directly to our district. But overall, I'd say that was, in hindsight, money poorly spent. And I would love to see us reduce that. I don't say you have to necessarily quit totally. That would make me happy too, but reduce that. And I would like to throw out a suggestion to consider is that the Water Authority, for the Council of Water Utilities, and also for the California Special Districts Association, the Water Authority limits it to the members, so they will pay for 4 CAWU a year, period. So they're willing to pay for it, but they don't feel that everyone needs to go to every one of them to gain something. And they do the same with the, I think this SCSDA, they'll do one of the quarterly meetings, one or two of them, but they won't do all of them. And I think there's a possibility on things like this that we either rotate amongst ourselves for the information and we share it, or just to save on those per diems and expenses. So I'm done.
I'm just gonna, since we're talking about two like organizations, both the Chamber and San Diego North EDC, because they're business related, and I'm probably the most vocal up here as it pertains to being supportive of our business community, but I disagree with you, Director Evans, that the San Diego North specifically, you said that their agendas were not, didn't have a whole lot to do with water, or were not around water. And the Water Authority was the presenter at the last meeting, oddly enough, but also every single meeting, even if the topic wasn't water, every single meeting, I mean, with maybe one or two exceptions, the business community, because we were in the drought and because it was top of mind, they touched on it. I mean, when Camp Pendleton was there and the general was talking about his concerns and national security, it was all about water. I know you don't go, and the reason why the per diems were so high is because the four of us do, and then recalling all of our board presentations on what was presented, on multiple occasions, I've heard from a number of our colleagues that how valuable that information was. So I'm in favor and agreeable with you that we probably need to, in light of us trying to go through this reduction of cost exercise, I do agree with you that we need to look at that. We need to trim that down as far as a budget item. However, I didn't want there to be perception out there that there was no value to our customers for our participation in that, because I think had you attended those, you would have been pleasantly surprised to hear how much indeed they were talking about water. In fact, I would argue that they talk more about water than the special district stuff that we go to in San Diego every month or every quarter.
They
So,
probably, I'm due.
and then with regards to the chamber, I'd like to keep that as I think maybe for the state of the city, there might be some per diem going out, but there's not, I don't think that there's per diem going out on any kind of regular basis. And I'm okay with taking out the membership as well. However, I would like to be mindful that there may be times that we need to look at, like the state of the city, for example. I think we should be there. And for me, per diems, it's about the time, right? If you're taking time off of work, if you're having to go there, it's a compensation for your time. So I'd like to be able to at least have the board come back and consider those items kind of case by case. And then I might have some other stuff to chime in, but I just wanted to, before we got off the business stuff, because I'm real sensitive to taking care of our business community and making sure that we're a voice for them and that they're able to be heard when we're out and about, and that we're where they are, and they're at these events, so.
And just to clarify, if you want to cross any of these off of here, all it means is we don't pay memberships for them, and we don't automatically pay per diems, but anytime, the board can approve a per diem for if it's not on this list. So it doesn't prohibit you from going, it just says we're not going to pay membership and we're not going to automatically allow a per diem. It has to come back to the board.
Okay, so then, and I'm not advocating that, I'm advocating on having a discussion about the San Diego North and reducing our spend with that organization, but, and I'll see where the other board members feel, but I think that's a meeting that I plan to continue to go to, because I think the value's there. So from a per diem standpoint, I think that should remain. As far as the level of actual membership, that could go down to zero. I mean, we can talk about that.
That doesn't have to be addressed here. I can take direction and bring back a new one, and then when we can determine that separately.
I don't recall the levels for San Diego EDC. 0, I'm sure, and then we went from 10 to 5, and I don't know if there's
There's a
some level.
25 and a 15, I believe.
Excuse me. I do think we should reduce our membership to some lower level. I would agree with Director Sinella on the value of it. Whether we place it here or in outreach, it is outreach to the community. I think it's very valuable that for the information we get and the connections that we make at the meetings. So that's my opinion on EDC. Find it lower membership or no membership at all, and continue to attend the meetings and gather the good information and make our presence known.
Director Mark?
Yeah, just one thing that Director Evans brought up that I think is worth at least talking about. A major difference between us and the County Water Authority, we're a retailer, they're a wholesaler. They have meetings many times a month with a representative from all the boards, with the managers, with other staff. I mean, the wholesaler, the reason why we got involved with it was part of the outreach program that we were getting involved with. Part of the reason that Chris came on board, part of the reason is we wanted to put this real emphasis on outreach. But I don't want to compare us to the Water Authority, has different agendas than we do. I think the outreach at the Centennial North is excellent. I think our attendance is good, and I think people really appreciate that we're there, and they do get to ask us a lot of questions, and they are our customers, our retail customers. Some of them large, some of them small. I don't know that we need to belong as a member in order to go to those meetings.
You don't.
So that leaves a question. I think the first year we were gonna have this water, and the CEO came and talked to us, and that was kind of exciting, and then second year we backed off, so maybe that's something we can back off from more. In my opinion, I don't have a problem with that. I think our presence there is important, I think the people we meet there is important, and we get to discuss issues with them. We do more sidebar and more talking there than we do at almost any other event. So, the Chamber of Commerce, you know, we do more for them than they do for us, to be honest. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce doesn't represent us in any way, shape, or form. We have really tight relationships with our council, with everyone else that we need to, and with the general public. So I think that's something that we could waylay, not a problem with it. The San Marcos Economic Development, we don't pay anything to it, but that's not around anymore. We can leave it on there because they might rejuvenate it, but it's not around, hasn't been for a couple of years. So those are my suggestions on looking at it, but I don't know what everyone else has to say about it.
Nobody has any concern with any of these other things?
Well, I do have a question with WEF, Water
Oh, yeah.
Education Foundation.
Yeah, exactly, I did too.
Yeah, WEF is, and I know we're getting those sheets to us, but they're fairly expensive. They were $7,000 or $8,000. My question is, was it?
Yeah, I remember.
Do we need to belong in order to get the education from that? Or do we get the education, can we take a trip without belonging to WEF? I don't know the answer to that. And are there different levels of WEF? I don't know the answer to that. I think the educational tours are well worthwhile, but I don't know if we have to be a member to take those tours or not.
Yeah, I don't think there's different tiers of levels. I don't know if you know, Diane, well, no, if you sign up for a tour, do you get, is it a one price if you're a member and one price if you're a non-member? That's typically how these things work, so.
They charge more for
And we can quantify that.
I don't know if
Yeah,
it justifies, even with changing of boards, one or two at a time, if that really justifies that $8,000 a year, or whatever that is that John's about to give us.
Yeah, go ahead and hand that if you will, Tim, thank you.
Aqua was a really expensive one too, so I don't know if they have different levels or.
No, they do not.
Other than, yeah, I don't know if we're getting enough bang for our buck for that one, for sure.
Our membership also includes the publications that they send to us, and magazines.
Thank you, John.
Information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it.
Letting you know what it is.
I'd rather invest for our resources and locally, if we're
Well,
gonna
I
do it. And if
think-
you're looking at $40,000, I think it was in 2015 for Aqua. I mean, if we can we still go to the events if we're not a member of Aqua? And if
Yeah.
not, are we getting $40,000 worth of bang for a
Well,
couple of
the
events?
biggest bang for our buck is that we're too small to have a lobbyist, to hire our own lobbyist in-house, and that's what Aqua does. instead,
Yeah, but they're gonna-
Well,
but they'll do it
I
with or
think,
without us.
I think you're a member of their JPIA, and
Right.
I got a hunch
if
that
we
you
were-
gotta be in the
I was
club.
about to bring
that's
up-
true.
in
If
order
we
to-
drop out of
That's where
Aqua,
you-
then
in order
we
to
lose our
belong to the
insurance.
JPIA, you have to be a member of Aqua.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's our insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
So I
So this
think
is,
they're-
that is their best
so this is an
insurance.
insurance plan, it's not a.
You can
Well,
almost
it's a
look at it
lot
as a
more
cost
It
of
than-
comes with
insurance.
education.
It's a lot more than that.
It's a lot more than that. I think they do a great job of
Oh, I'm not saying they don't.
overall. I mean, I think it's worthy to be with this organization, and even though you may feel that you don't do as much what would you call it, sidebar with people in Aqua, I think Aqua does an amazing job of supporting the whole water industry and lobbying for us. And they've actually been ones who've sponsored a lot of the bills that have helped us and been very influential even in getting the governor to change his mind in the State Water Control Board.
Yeah.
So, and that to me is a direct connection. And, I do want to say on the North Economics Development Council, I haven't gone to the meetings because, as I've explained, I have other commitments with San Diego Water Authority on that day. So that's the biggest reason I didn't go. But I also think I would be very cautious about going because some of the reports have said it's hard to quantify, and we talked about the retirement plan, and there's a biomedical coming to Carlsbad, and my feeling is it's very informative and it's very exciting for the people there at the meeting. But I don't think that any of those conversations have really come back to our ratepayers. That's where my conflict is. Not with the organization, or not that it's not important. I don't think anything there has even the information about, you mentioned one of them,
But-
Camp Pendleton's desal or those. You're learning something that's available online or through other organizations as well. So yes, you got to be there and you got to talk with people, but I don't know that it comes back to our ratepayers, and I don't believe that many of our actual ratepayers per se, or even our businesses per se, for the amount of money we've been spending. I like that you're willing to pull back, and I'd like us to be able to, consider that maybe we don't, all 5 or 4 of us have to go to every meeting. I'd just like to see less
Director
spent there.
Hernandez.
I'm looking, are we to make a motion to do
Well,
something
we
here?
also have a speaker on this, so
Oh,
before.
okay, let the.
So why don't we hear a speaker, and then
Yeah, let's
we'll
hear
probably
it.
give staff guidance on the comeback with the
Exactly.
final product. But Mr. Hunsaker.
Mike Hunsaker, speaking as a private individual, just to weigh in a little bit. I think Aqua is a very legitimate use of money, considering what it does. You do need as much lobbying support as you can get in Sacramento, particularly considering what they're doing to our developers and our water supplies. Now, as to organizations which represent commercial interests. A lot of these are organizations who can pay for lobbyists. And lobbyists give them access to you and present their opinions. For taxpayers and ratepayers to pay to attend these in order that they be lobbied there potentially is not appropriate. As a matter of fact, I think it is imperative for Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Corporation, to extend to us support. They are going to be major consumers of new water supplies, new sewer systems. We should not pay for our members to be lobbied. I don't mind if you attend free meetings, presentations, but it doesn't pass the smell test if we are asking ratepayers in order to be able to have special interests heard, especially. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so, you guys got it clear? Pretty clear?
Could, with consensus from the board, could we have this come back with the elimination of the membership of the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce and the EDC, and, but the attending of the meeting for any board member that wants to go, or if an event comes up that we can find approval from the board to go to a specific event.
Well, ADC is already approved. The Chamber of Commerce would continue doing the same way we have been doing it. Ask for approval prior to going.
Well, yeah,
So the only thing.
but the membership.
No, but
Yeah, the only thing you're
Membership.
suggesting then, Jim, is that just eliminate the Chamber of Commerce from this list altogether,
Right.
and then just eliminate the
Membership.
membership portion of San Diego North EDC.
That's correct.
But leave it on the list as a per diem item.
Yes.
Well, it wouldn't, it would be off of this list because we wouldn't be paying a membership, but anytime you were gonna go, you would just bring it before the board
Well,
to get approval.
That's every month, so is
Yeah,
there a
that
way
would-
we can do
yeah.
that so that it's just there, so we don't have to keep bringing it back every month?
That's a pretty significant change here. These are the organizations we hold memberships to.
Okay,
Yes.
then why don't we just come in at the minimum membership then? If it's, I mean.
Well, how do you do with the Council of Water Utilities? I see that we can go to those and yet we pay no membership.
And so if it's on this list, it means you don't have to bring it before the board to get a per diem.
That's what,
So we'll
that's
leave it
what,
on the
yeah, that's what
list,
I'm
we'll
trying to get
just
to.
take away.
Then-
membership.
Then when you.
Membership.
Yeah, that would be, if you're directing me to not, we can keep it on air, and then you're directing me to say no membership. That's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Keep it on, but no membership. Very good.
Well, actually, no, these are where we hold memberships too. So we're a member of CAWA. Yeah, if we're not, and you can't be a member of San Diego North Economic Development Council unless you pay. So if you're directing me not to maintain a membership, I'll take it off this list.
Well, then we
Well-
have to come back every month for approval.
Well, the Council of Water Utilities is, don't we pay to go?
We pay to go.
That's your membership. You
Yeah.
pay every time you go. You're paying for the meal, and you're paying for the place, and you're paying for the program. So
Can-
that's your membership. We pay
Very good.
attendance.
Can we make a motion to approve the attendance of North County EDC for the year at one time, and that way we don't have to bring it back every month?
Would you guys stop
Well,
going if
okay.
you didn't get
Here-
per diem?
All you gotta do, all the law
I would go.
says legally
Then I think that's the
is
point.
that,
It's a time thing.
forget about memberships.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the only thing that the statute really cares about is your compensation.
Right.
And so if you don't wanna have to come back every month, just list the organizations in your resolution, like this, or ordinance, that says you don't have to come back every month and ask to go.
We do a
Okay?
separate.
So memberships is a different issue, and you guys can decide on what you can be involved in, and there may be some that it doesn't cost anything, and some that it does, and that's the only way you get to go and all that. I don't know those off the top of my head, but for purposes of this ordinance, the only thing you care about is what are the organizations that you don't have to bring back and specifically ask to go to?
Perfect.
I guess with direction, I can kind of do a subset. You know, these following organizations, we are not members but do not require per diem. I can probably put that right in the ordinance.
Well,
Not for
okay,
approval.
my question is then, how much is our membership to the North County Water Group?
North County Water Group.
Yes, North County Water Group. We
There-
pay per diem for that, but we don't seem to have any membership fee.
There's no membership fee.
Then how do you do
How
that?
about you just change the section, instead of authorized membership, say authorized per diem?
Yeah.
So who cares if you're a
We can have
member?
a,
Yeah.
this one covers both the membership, and we can have a subsection that says covers per diem.
You just change it.
We
It's-
don't have to have a
I think
subject.
Membership is.
Perfect.
There we go.
There we go.
Anybody have any strong feelings about water reuse? I mean, it's,
Which one's that?
Water reuse.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, yes.
that's the future.
That's where we're going.
Did we give you directions to see if it was possible? Would you, could we compare the WEF, what would it cost to go on as a member versus not being a member? I believe, Diane, you said that's where the difference comes with WEF. So if we were to maybe look at just last year's, because the water, we spent $88,900. So for that year, can we go back on whatever ones were attended and determine what it would have cost us if we had not been a member? and then
I
we can
I
kind of.
report back to you.
That would, on that one in particular, because I think, you know,
If we
Director Martin's
get
made a
a-
good point, if we don't have to be a member.
Yeah.
But- And some
Yeah,
years, there's
discount
gonna be a
being a
lot
member.
to go to, and some years they're not. So if, let's say at the next election, this whole board changed, and you had 3 new members, you're thinking, oh, well, we'll be a member this year, because there's probably gonna be a lot of tourists to become educated. But maybe next year, like Director Martin's pointed out, it may be only 1 or 2, and it's to our advantage.
And that's what I meant by water reuse, is do we need the membership to participate? If we don't, then let's get rid
It's-
of all the memberships that we don't, that are not required to participate.
I think, I agree,
Yeah,
I
if it
think
make-
water
if it makes
reuse is,
sense to do it,
to do what?
To get rid of the membership.
Yeah.
If you don't, we can still go get the education. What we're trying to figure out is, so we determined that the San Diego North EDC does not require you to be a member to attend their events.
Now,
So if water reuse does not require us to be a member to attend their events, then let's save ourselves $2,600. We're going through this cost savings, and we should get
well,
rid
you
of every
first
single one of
need
these.
to, well, then we're gonna ask,
Well, yeah,
we're
that's
asking
what I'm
them to
asking.
compare.
Yeah, we'd have
all
to
of
come
them.
back with that. I'll take a look and see which
Alternative.
ones
Any-
give heavy discounts,
So,
you know.
You
for
know what I
membership.
find
If there's a consensus here that if do an evaluation of every single one of these, the membership component
Yeah.
of it, if it's A, not required, or if it's not required, but there's a return on our investment because we saved some
Get a
other
discount,
way, or
yeah.
it's associated with our insurance, then I understand that, but let's at least look, and I suspect we'll be able to get 2 or 3 of these things reduced, eliminated.
That could be the direction, that I don't come back with an ordinance, but just some more information.
Yes.
and we can
There we
continue
go.
this on that.
Okay?
All right.
Good.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Just for clarification, Tom, the memberships aren't just strictly to get a better rate on tours.
No, some of them won't give a better rate, yeah.
There are other elements that.
Right.
just so-
We'll,
So
we'll,
that
we'll,
we bring that forward, there are other elements that they.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's more than just related to travel
And,
and tours.
and that's, you're gonna bring that information.
correct,
from
yeah,
us.
we'll
Very good, thank you.
take a closer look at all that. Benefits from membership.
Perfect. That was clear as mud.
Okay, and that was, we don't need to vote on that or anything?
No, I'll just come back with another
Okay,
Okay.
item.
cool. Okay, let's take a 5-minute break.
Are we done?
What time is it?
Oh, with
Well, we
action
have a
items.
time
You
set
know-
at 6:30 for closed session.
It was tabled at the beginning of the meeting, do you recall? Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
We do have a time certain, but he's gotta tell me by text if he's gonna be available at 6:30, because he's in a
Okay.
board meeting in a closed session, and he's trying to set it up for 6:30, but, I'm waiting to hear, he may very well not be available at 6:30.
Oh, I didn't realize it was
Yeah.
not a certain thing.
Well, if you looked at his email, he's there between 4:30 and 6:30, and so, he'll let me know, and we'll go from there.
Well, and so
It
let's,
looks like we can
So-
just move along, and I'll let you know as soon as he tells me.
okay, well, let's take the 5-minute break, and then
Okay.
if he has to wait if he's there at 6:30, he can wait a couple minutes. He's prepared to make us wait, it sounds like, so. if he
Sure,
can't come
yeah,
till
yeah,
7,
no,
So, And on item 2.5, conflict of interest code for Vallecitos Water, Tom, you have something on that?
Yes, on page 83 of your packet, this is just a biannual thing we do, required by FPPC to maintain a conflict of interest code. 2 little changes, position, we no longer have a Director of Engineering and Operations, and then the annual gift, from filling out your Form 700, the annual gift limitation of total gifts went from 440 to 460. So we just wanted to get those changes in, and so staff recommends that you adopt the new conflict of interest code, those changes.
Director Martin, you
I
have
have a question. For the first time in a year or two, I received a conflict of interest form from you, from staff, telling me what items were in my district. I've never gotten one of those before.
Oh, you mean associated with the board, the agenda item on a board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had those
Yeah,
before.
we always-
We don't have them every meeting.
No, only when there's a,
And when there is a conflict.
well, don't we send them out for every?
We haven't had one for a while.
A conflict of interest and something else.
It's the agenda thing, and it will say
Items by geographic
District.
division for each board.
one,
Oh,
I was,
yeah, oh, no, that's always sent
Yeah.
out, or it's in your,
common thing for every agenda, for every action item that involves.
So we're gonna get that
property.
now every single time.
It is.
Yeah, we,
Have you not been getting it?
I have.
I don't think I have.
Not
I
every
have.
time.
Conflict, it hasn't?
No, I haven't.
Well, it should be
Is it
showing
only
up
when?
on your iPad, no? It should be showing
Every
up.
time.
I think the staff identifies it when it's in their district.
I'll double
Oh, it
check.
does show up on here.
I'll double check.
yeah,
It does
when you
show
get
up
your
on here.
packet.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it shows up on
But I
here.
thought we got it separately.
No, it's,
Well,
No.
I got the email separately, and I went, why are we getting this? Because it's not a conflict of interest, things are happening in my district, which is good, which we know, but they're not in any way a conflict.
It's not
Right.
saying it's a conflict. If it were on the bottom portion of that form, then it's a conflict. It's just showing that the project is in your division or the item, the specific agenda item, that project or whatever it is that's on the agenda is in your division. That's all it's saying.
So then Director Evans, I think she was on the bottom of that form. Was there something tonight that you had a conflict?
Right, because the,
we've got tables.
the one we postponed, table, is in my division. Not that necessarily it's conflict of interest for me, it just was saying,
If it's in your division,
these
you're okay.
action items,
But
this
it was
one,
listed on the
There's-
bottom
there's-
part, not the top part.
I haven't seen that
Well, then you just
for
told
every
me.
board meeting, though.
no, I
No,
haven't
only if
either.
you-
Usually always in the forward. We'll get.
Take a look at
consistent
that.
between the
Yeah,
two of
take-
those.
see what's up.
We'll get-
Okay.
Any other questions?
No?
I'll go move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to reports. Interim GM report.
Yeah, a couple of things I have for you. What do I have for you? Oh, hey, we got a grant money, we got $2,000 from Aqua JPIA. The,
Put it in reserves.
it's for a wellness grant, so,
On
that's good news.
Is that
And
for
we're
the
gonna-
ergo desk or something?
Well, actually, we're gonna have somebody to come in and show us how to do healthy cooking.
Wow.
So,
Well, when does that come? You gonna notify us all of that?
Wait.
Really? No, I mean, you're
Sure, I'll let you know what the
gonna,
date
yeah, let
is.
us know.
Yeah?
You're gonna have all staff show up at a healthy cooking class for $2,000 grant.
Wow, that's one of the things we'll do, and I'll have, you'll probably get that in your information when you get your monthly updates from Chris. That's part of the,
Update.
yeah.
Why not just supply all staff with those Fitbits?
What?
That's what some of the people are doing.
I was gonna say, some of the, yeah, that's one of the programs, and we did that already with grant money before. I think we did Fitbits or something like that. Oh, no, we did a walk thing or something, but, yeah. But we'll keep you posted on how that
A
goes.
cooking class.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know, keep me
Do
posted on the
the
cooking
Chamber of
class.
Commerce 5K.
Oh, well, it'd be a good cooking class.
Yeah.
Also, we had a couple of, if you're familiar with the Taxpayer Association Awards, they have the Golden Fleece, or the Golden, whatever you call it, the Gold Award, the Watchdog Award, and we were recognized, we were nominated for a very positive award for the coalition, for our reuse coalition. We were nominated but didn't win that one. But the Water Authority and Poseidon won for public-private partner, a category there, so they won an award for
They
that.
won a Golden Fleece Award?
No, we don't want to win the Golden Fleece
Golden
Award.
Watchdog.
This is
Oh,
a,
This is the Watchdog one. There's a good one, the Watchdog one,
Yeah.
and there's a Fleece one,
Right.
that's a bad one, so you don't want to be associated with the Fleece.
Who won the police?
I don't know, I don't have that, yeah. Yeah. I
It's a
have
fun
things-
evening.
What is
If
it?
you've ever been there, it's a fun evening.
Oh, yeah.
Did you go this year?
I didn't go this year, but I've been there in the past, and it's really pretty entertaining.
I've been to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
It's a
And-
good
Very
group.
funny.
It's a good group.
Yeah. One other thing I just put up here, there's always a question about, hey, where's this Prop 1A money? Remember all the
Yeah, where is it?
7.5 billion? And it takes a long time. You heard today that they're still distributing Prop 84 money, and I think Prop 50 money is still out there, and that was decades ago. But this is just to show you, where the money is. The largest circle is, if you remember what Prop 1A was, they had the categories of funding. So in other words, like water storage is completely appropriated. Nothing spent yet, but it's completely appropriated. In other words, it's completely awarded for projects. And so you can see that the little dark circles in the middle, those are money that's actually been awarded to projects. Yeah. So, I said that wrong. It's appropriated, meaning, you know, it's to the agencies that award the money, but this is that small circle, a small dark circle, that's the only amount that's been awarded to date, and that's not uncommon, actually. It's not, you know, you might look at that and say, geez, it's taken them a long time for the Prop 1A money, but it's not uncommon.
That's
Well,
2.7 billion?
Yeah,
For water
2.7 billion for
Yeah,
storage.
and there's been nothing awarded to any projects for
For
this.
storage, nothing awarded yet.
Yeah.
See, there's my
We've been
lakes right
fighting
there.
for 2 years.
Oh, that's the most contentious one, I think, is the storage one.
It's
Gonna
interesting,
be
there's
most
not a single
competition.
project listed.
Yeah.
Nothing's resolved.
No, well, the projects that are in the
I'll
small
never
one,
vote for
it's
another water
detailed.
That's what I mean,
Robles
there's just
up there, fishing.
nothing happening.
No, it's-
We're still fighting over the rules on how to
What?
consider
South is
projects.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
That is always the case with
Well, and South Lake,
with
the
the
Middle
money.
Lake, the Lower Lake, and then Discovery.
Uh,
Cleaned up.
are you gonna cover
We
the-
go up to Santee
That's for a
Lake.
debate for another day.
Yeah, that's indemnity one. Yeah, we can do that.
That's all
That's all.
I have.
Good report. Depressing, but good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, for the record, and Mike, this is for you. Just so you guys get tired of hearing this all the time, I don't wanna sound like a broken record, but the district is not a land planning body, okay? We don't have any power or authority to approve or disapprove a development or direct population growth and such. With due respect, sir, AB 744 has nothing to do with that, us. It is a planning and zoning law, okay? It's the city, it's the county. A lot of your comments, I understand them, but they really should be directed to the city council. Because we basically have a responsibility to determine that there's sufficient water supplies available to serve projects. And we have a legal obligation. I mean, there's a line of cases that if we become arbitrary or capricious, or simply because we don't like development, if we disapprove things, then we're subject to being sued for that. We have a reasonable obligation to reasonably provide water and sewer, okay? As long as the developer follows the rules. They gotta follow the rules with our rules, Water Authority's rules, Met's rules, you know, Encina's rules for sewer. They gotta, as long as they do that, and they come in here, we're in a position, that's our, we're not here to deny or approve, okay? And sometimes that gets mixed up, and I appreciate your comments, but I want everybody to understand that's not our role, okay? And the other thing was the, 855 was a bill. It's a bit of a complicated bill, but it's a bill that had to do with indemnification of architects and engineers, design professionals. And I think at last meeting or one of the earlier meetings, we sent a letter in opposition at the request of CSDA and some other members. And basically what the bill was designed to do, and Senator Walk is a good friend of the design professional lobbyists for some reason. But basically what this bill was gonna do was, we would, let's say that we designed a pipe, and the pipe was not done properly, and let's say the pipe blows up and causes all kinds of damage and even could injure somebody, and there's property damage, everything like that, and clearly it wouldn't, you know, you could, even a lawyer could see that it wasn't designed properly, okay? So we would then, if we got sued, we could bring in the architect that had, and engineers that had not properly designed this, but we would have to pay their legal fees and until we got to the end of the case, before we could go back and ask them for compensation. Currently, the way it is everybody's on their own. You gotta pay if you get sued, you get to pay your own. This would have had the public agencies upfronting these fees, which would have been, it's a very unfortunate bill. So in any event, the walk bill was tabled, and it's hopefully won't come back. And I'm waiting for Mr. Phillips. He's told me that he's got this, he's in a closed session, and he's gonna text me when he's available. So when I get the text, hopefully get it any time, I'll let you know, and we can hook up with him. If we go into closed session, we have another matter to discuss. So if we get done with the meeting, we go into closed session, then you can decide what you want to do.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff.
I'm actually gonna be turning in a written report,
Okay.
so that'll be faster.
Okay, Encina, you guys meet?
Nope.
No? Good, good.
Not yet. Later in the month.
Any director's reports on travel, conferences, or seminars? Director Martin?
Yes, I, for the second time in my illustrious 3.5 year, did the WEF tour of the Bay Delta. And it's interesting, it was brought up to me by a few people that I should take it again, and I did, and I was very interested to see some differences and changes, which I'm sure will delight and amuse you. First of all, there were 2 bus loads, approximately 90 people, and they were from all walks of life, a lot of board members, a lot of different people, but the general consensus on the canals and the peripheral canals, contrary to what had been my 3 years ago, where it kind of was, everybody's just laughing about it today, saying it ain't gonna happen for a multitude of reasons. And I was saying, the difference between 3 years ago when I was new and now, my education has made such a difference in my understanding of what's going on versus as it did three years ago. But for instance, I had questions 3 years ago as to why we went to the mouth of the state canal, and we saw everything they have in place to make sure that we don't kill too many little fish. And then we heard all the reasons why little fish are dying, and they have hatcheries, and we got to see the hatchery where they're birthing them, and, you know, the sea bass and all the problems. Then, the last trip I went on, they didn't take us over to the federal canal. So this time we went to the federal canal, where they have 0. They don't catch anything. I asked the guy, I said, so where's all your nets and all your things to make sure we don't get any smuggling? We don't have those. We're the feds. So it just shows you government at its finest. You know, over there, they're shutting water off, they're turning it on, they're shutting it off. The feds just take whatever they want and say, hey, we're taking it. So it was very interesting, understanding the farmer's plight better now. What I think is interesting, because of their rights, they have rights to whatever water they can possibly pump out, and they do pump tons of it out. And of course, when people come and say, well, how many pumps do you have, they don't tell them. How much do you pump out, they ain't telling them. They're not telling them nothing, because we get all the water we want, you know, because we just take it right out. But very interesting, but the biggest difference was between all people there, other than the state employees, is most people think the peripheral canal, the tunnel, the pipes, whatever they want to name them, is probably never going to happen. So for a multitude of reasons. So I thought that was interesting. So that's what I brought back, but I do have a better, firmer understanding now than I did then. There was a couple of people on 2 of the committees I serve on that recommended I go again with my better knowledge and understanding, and to understand it better. But I'm glad in Northern California, not too many Southern California people on the tour.
So, federal government, if I understood you correctly, is more about do as I say, not as I do?
Federal government's more like, we've got the water and we're gonna do whatever we want, we don't care what you give it to the state.
Yeah, the Endangered Species Act is federal.
Right, yeah. Well, and there was another interesting thing at the state one, what was interesting, is in between the screening, which is like, 100 feet away, and there were 2 sea lions in there. And we were laughing, we were going, well, the fish they eat don't count. So I think they were appreciating the sea lions being in there, because they're eating a whole lot of fish that don't go to the screens. So I'm just cracking up, I'm going, oh, you found a way around the system, put sea lions in the holding pen, and not as many go through. Interesting.
Anybody else go anywhere? Okay.
I attended the Council of Water Utilities. I think it was late last month, the 22nd.
Yeah, you didn't report on that already?
No, I don't know, did we have a
I
board
thought we
meeting?
did.
I
Didn't
thought we did.
Oh, maybe we
Maybe
didn't.
we didn't. We had so many things happening.
Yeah, last month we loaded, this month
Actually,
we're not, yeah.
we did not,
Yeah, the one with Ellen.
with Alan
Carlisle,
Carlson.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll report on it.
Yeah,
It was,
please do.
Cool, I was there too, and I'd already forgotten.
Yeah, so he did a presentation, he's the general manager of Potter Dam, municipal
Oh,
water
yeah,
district
that's
down in
right.
Carlisle.
Oh, I missed that one, that's why.
He had a presentation on their, what they call in their organization, the pipeline, which is a program they've instituted to engage employees in a more collaborative decision-making process throughout the organization. And really interesting.
Mhm.
And it's something that I'd really advocate or really like to see us look into here. It's a great program.
By all means, I'd like to see it done at the city as well.
Regarding that, Cowboy, the gentleman who spoke there, you might have seen at the quarterly meeting for CSDA, it was about towards the end of last year, and he got up and he spoke about the generations of how do you connect the new and the old. That was the same gentleman, and this was a slightly different, but that was very good.
Mhm.
Very, very good, and they do have a wonderful program.
Mhm.
So we should look into that.
Okay. Any other business? No? Any director's comments or future agenda items? Director Hernandez.
Yes, I was approached the other day by a ratepayer up in Coronado Hills, who, he's indicated to me that he spent well over $2,800 repairing his irrigation system because of the spikes that we've had. I said, well, I'll definitely ask, because I thought we were pretty regular in our pressure, but he contends that's not the case.
Coronado Hills is not controlled by any pressure regulating station. We pump up to the top of the hill and it's gravity fed from Coronado Hills tank. So there's no chance that we're having any spikes up there.
What if we fill it and there's more pressure and then there's less?
We're talking about 5 pounds.
Oh.
5 pounds differential, I'd say.
Huh.
So there are areas up there that are high pressure. In fact, every customer is recommended to have their own pressure regulator.
Yeah, right.
And, if you have problems with this pressure regulator, then that will cause spikes.
Well, and just correct me if I have this wrong. Putting a pressure regulator right behind the meter then would solve all the
Yeah.
problems in anyone's
Most
irrigation,
people,
homes,
most people
anything.
don't put pressure regulators on their irrigation systems.
Pardon?
Most people do not put a pressure regulator on their irrigation system.
Aha.
No, I don't.
Okay, well then that, I will take that back to him and tell him it's
Probably
not
one
our
of the few
fault.
that do,
Because that's what he's been told, but he didn't quite believe it. But he'll believe me.
Director Oliver.
Yeah, just,
Yeah,
how about
talking to
surge on the pump station? Is there surge control facilities?
Yeah, the pump station has a surge tank
Mhm.
there.
And you maintain?
Yeah, and
air
by the
level?
time the water gets up to that level, because we are pumping quite a ways up,
Yeah.
the surge is dissipated if there was any on startup. But we also have soft starts. So, I mean, we can look at our charts, I'm talking school. We can look at our SCADA system and look at the trends. And we
Better
can
not,
see
they
there-
still have charts.
Yeah, I know, we don't have charts anymore. We can look at the SCADA system and see, and we actually have alarm set points really tight on pressure spikes. Typically 5 to 10 PSI in either direction will generate an alarm for us.
Huh?
Director Martin.
What do we try to keep our PSI at?
Well, it's different throughout the whole distribution system. The minimum by regulation is 20 PSI at the meter, including during fire flow.
Okay, the minimum and the maximum.
There is actually no maximum. There are areas in our district where we have 300 PSI on the main. But at those areas, we actually install our own pressure regulator before the meter, anything at 150 PSI and above.
To protect
And that's
it.
actually part of our meter. But it's up to the customer's responsibility and per policy that they protect their house.
Yeah,
And that's part of the plumbing code.
The plumbing code says 80 PSI.
Yeah, don't
You
recommend
did-
more than, between 60 and 80 PSI in the house.
You need a regulator on the
And
building.
it's pretty much the same for your irrigation system. You should have a pressure regulator, and you shouldn't have more than about 60 to 80 PSI, depending on the type of sprinkler.
I'm sorry, and I'm guessing that when you go to the 99-cent store and you buy the 50 feet of hose for 99 cents, that their pressure's like 10 pounds and they blow up. Is that's part of the problem I've heard from people is they buy the cheap stuff and it goes bad real quick.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
With-
definitely.
Okay.
Any other director comments?
I would like to get some discussion as to, Tom, the report that we're gonna get about our groundwater, and that, is that still due in the next month or three?
Next week, we're gonna have come before the board. James, you wanna talk about what's coming before the board, next week for the, conservation, thing? Director Hernandez is more concerned about the groundwater stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So, again, as I indicated, I believe at the last board meeting, at the 20th, we're planning on, and we're in negotiation with the consultant, to bring a water conservation amendment to the contract for a master plan. And with that, we'll be developing the conservation scenarios of reduced demand, what does it look like in our CIP. We'll also be developing the groundwater along with the other water resources, your DPR, your IPR, your stormwater, all those other water resources. We've done we found old studies, we've found new studies, we got well data from the city, we've analyzed that information, and, unfortunately, there really is no groundwater, but we're going to do the write-up. We stopped short of doing a separate groundwater after we analyzed all the information, got the information from the city. Accordingly, did another groundwater amendment with the consultant because the existing scope of the water resources, we felt covered it. From there, we'll give the board, and it will take probably about 3 months to generate all the different scenarios, but we'll give the board a workshop, probably sometime late fall, in which we go through all the water resources scenarios, but that's only after we do the conservation, because that's the next part. And it's kind of double dipping, or really a duplication of effort if we came to the board and did a groundwater scenario. Only to come back.
I apologize, Jim.
We apologize.
Only to come back to do the conservation, because what we're really showing with the data that we've collected with 5 years worth of meter data and everything else, is that conservation alternative is going to make the biggest impact, and it will make some adjustment. Although it's going to be minor, but it'll make some adjustment to the CIP. The groundwater portion of it will be brought at that point. So there is no groundwater alternative amendment that we're bringing to the board, but there will be in the fall a full water resources analysis and a workshop brought to the board, which includes water conservation.
Director Martin?
Yeah, I have a question, not on that issue, I'm sorry.
All right, so are you good?
I will be when I hear the workshop and see what comes of this.
Okay, thank you. Director Martin?
I have a question of what could be done, I don't know what the answer is. In San Alejo, as of right now, we've had numerous water breaks. And in asking staff about it, a lot of them occur when you do the building, the water pipe goes in, the sewer pipe goes in, and then the dry utilities go down on top of that. And the dry utilities, many times when they're cutting or doing whatever they're doing, nick one of our pipes, and therefore weakening the system. And therefore, when we have a problem, which San Alejo's 15, 20 years old, and we have a problem, we're going out there and finding this is what happened, and happens once or twice, as it did this holiday weekend, twice, because of the same problem. I guess my question is this, when there's no one, we have our inspector that goes out and inspects when our work is done, and looks at it and checks it off for the subcontractor. When the next guy comes in, be it SDG&E, telephone, cable, they have their own professionals watching them do it. But yet they're the ones that are nicking or they're hurting our lines. Now, I don't know if there's a problem that goes on forever, but how do we get a handle on this for the future? And I'm guessing the way we do is have an inspector there when they're doing the other job, which is gonna cost more money to the developer, but so be it, I guess. I'm just trying to figure out, how do you stop that from happening, nip it in the bud, and it becomes our responsibility? Lord knows how much of an inconvenience it was on the 4th of July for all those homeowners, but what the cost was to our ratepayers on repairing something because of shoddy work that was done 15 or 20 years ago, which we can point at now and see and show, but it's too late to go after anybody for it in the past. I don't know if there's an answer, but is there an answer?
James, do you have anything that you can respond to? The 4th of July one was not that. The 4th of July one was a different one. It was where the service line tied into, but a lot of them are, we suspect.
So Director Martin, the question actually that you're asking is the exact same question that staff asked several years ago. We had a major line break, something around 14 to 18 repairs on Sagewood, which is one of the first developments within San Leonard Hills. And we went through almost like a forensic analysis to discover why, and this is where we discovered the root of the causes. And in this case, a lot of it was the pipe was put in, inspected, the road was put in, and then there was, it's at kind of at the bottom of the canyon. Then the road was dug out and where they put, concrete treated base was put in. So basically, it's concrete mixed with the dirt, treated base put in to help stabilize because it was too wet, it was during the wet season. And then they poked holes in the bag that protects the pipe, and then the dry utilities came across later and did that exact same thing. We met with SCG&E and we set up some protocols with SCG&E because during that time was the middle of the economic boom, and SCG&E had really nobody inspecting the dry utility packages. Contractors put it in and nobody was watching it. One of the solutions is exactly that. Our inspectors would come out, although we have no control of that. The new specs that the board approved is kind of built in some safety protocols, including a change in pipe material. We're no longer using ductile iron, which is susceptible. If they nick the PVC, it's going to break almost right away, which is not good for them, but we won't have this problem on our burden at least, because PVC, it doesn't have that tolerance. It's not a metal pipe. It's very strong until you mess with it. So that's one of the protocols we put in. We work with the city at several meetings. We work with all the utilities, which includes all the dry utilities, SCG&E being the primary one, on a different protocol. And our current SCG&E, and I forgot the gentleman's name, a representative is working with their consultants, because they just hire consultants to watch it, to help coordinate so our inspectors could be out there for a spot check, which doesn't put a tremendous burden on the development. Developers have not come to us with that issue at this point. They understand that the pipes are breaking and they understand the cause. So right now we're doing spot checks on the crossings on new development. We've changed the pipe material and protocol, which all will help eliminate the future. As far as the existing, you're absolutely right. There's really nothing we can go back on the existing.
But you feel much more confident about 15 to 20 years from now? than what
Yeah, we
happened
feel the
then?
protocols. I'm sure there'll be other lessons we'll have to learn, but as far as analyzing this problem and finding a solution, we felt that this was the best course of action without putting too much burden on the developer for paying for extra inspection, because the problem that we discovered, because that was our first choice, we're gonna be out there to inspect every crossing. Well, now I got an inspector sitting out there the whole time, most of the time doing nothing, waiting for the dry utility package, which is a completely separate contractor. And it's two different contractors who put that in, is the other issue. So, but yeah, we feel that this solution between our new spec that the board just adopted and our coordination, our increased coordination, will help eliminate future problems, at least from this type of error.
Thank you.
Your call is ready for your
Okay, well, I think that's
session.
perfect timing, because unless there's any other future agenda items.
You've got 2 closed session items, so.
Okay, so let's go, we need a motion to go into closed session?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed unanimously.